So you want to get into operating your own sprinter slash cargo van. What do I do? Today is Monday, May 22nd, 2023. And for the most part, I may be done for my day. And I made what I would say has been what I've articulated to be my minimum expectation so far. I've made $315 today. 115 came off of a couple of, actually a stacked roadie opportunity. And then the other came on a regional load opportunity, an actual road opportunity in which I delivered from Charleston to Rock Hill, South Carolina. Some may question my sanity for doing it though, but here's the thing. Roadie opportunity set up the Charleston to Rock Hill opportunity in that the route that I had to take took me in the direction of Charleston, number one. And the money that I made covered everything that I spent today, which was $60 on gas. And then my daughter hit me up for $25 for gas. But all that is to say, I happened to check out, I've not responded to this guy's question or comment. But basically, he asked me what market was I in. Was I in Chicago or New York? I'm in neither. I am based out of Columbia, South Carolina, the middle of the fucking state of South Carolina. Columbia is not a place that, as I've shared, is not a place that you want to come to vacation. Columbia is a place that you may want to go to for about 6 or 7 weekends out of a year for a football game where they pack faithfully 80 to 85,000, win or lose, to watch their beloved football program play. Columbia may be a place that you would go to check out a concert at the Colonial Life Center. Those are like the more attractive things about Columbia, South Carolina. But I want to just share with you. The question is, so you want to get into operating your own sprinter slash cargo van. What do I do? Kind of reminds me of when people would ask me, well, what do I have to do to write a book? Well, having written and published 8 or 9 books of my own, and having edited and published another 8 or 9 books, the first thing I tell people is that you got to just start writing, putting thought to paper, or putting thought to your computer screen. Create a file and start putting thoughts together. That's how you start writing a book. Then you kind of start creating some type of a framework for what you're trying to write, in that you may have a storyline and some characters that you want to develop and all, and you try to put some chapters together. And when you feel that you may have something put together, look for an editor, someone that's going to work with you in terms of working with your writing style, your voice, so that it's not lost in the editing process. That's what I often told people. And I've got some results on that, where, in fact, it's a guy whom I know out of Atlanta. His name is Javon Mack. He had a book that appeared on the shelves of Barnes & Noble, and then it was also it made a monthly book club. But the initial framework of his book was 100,000 words of random thoughts. And once we worked, when we got finished, it was when the final product was like 75,000 words, and it made the shelves of a bookstore. Translated. How does that translate into operating a sprinter slash cargo van? Well, the first thing you want to do, and I've mentioned it before though, but yeah, the first thing you want to do is start asking some questions. But the second thing that you want to do is start looking into avenues by which you can create revenue streams for yourself. But I think a lot of people become misguided about getting a sprinter slash cargo van, thinking that they can find load opportunities that will take them from their respective market to another market for pay. And there are things that you have to do in order to be in a position to do that. Now, you can do some things under the radar, but if you're going to do it correctly, in which you may be dealing with brokers and shippers, there's a lot more costs involved. And I've got these various segments of the Gig Geezer in which I have explained those things, though. But I'm going to stick to the subject. So you want to get started operating a sprinter/cargo van. What do I do? And by the way, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer or in any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm going to share now. When I saw that question, immediately I thought about this person is looking to start first and 10 at their 40-yard line, or even their 35-yard line. I mean, he's saying how he wants to look for load opportunities so once he gets his van, he can be rolling. It doesn't really work that way. There's a content creator whom I think is now on the sidelines for whatever reason, but he's been sidelined temporarily, but it may be it may be more of a sustained situation though. But he shared how it took him 3 months before he booked his first load working over the road. Now, I don't want to get so much into, do you want to go, you got a sprinter/cargo van, do you want to hit the road, go over the road and all that stuff? There are people who are of the school of thought. Sign on with a company in which you're under their insurance, you're operating under their authority. What I mean by their authority, the authority is something that is that you pay $300 for, depending on what it is, but basically it's general goods or general merchandise, whatever the term is. But you get a general purpose authority that costs $300. I've got information here on this segment of the Gig Geezer about that. And then your MC number, which is your authority that gives you the right to transport goods across state lines for hire, for pay. Okay? There is the school of thought that you get on with a company, okay, and gain experience that way. You may even be driving their vans, for all I know. But there are a lot of places that want you to drive your van, but drive under their authority and then get paid whenever they pay you, okay? Here's my response to that. I have spoken to some companies that told me how much their guys were making being on the road 2 and 3 weeks at a time. And I have shared on multiple occasions here on the Gig Geezer that I make that money and probably a little more now, and I'm home every night seeing the queen of my life. And the times that I have been on the road, so to speak, the queen of my life was to my right with me. She's a partner in the business. She's also driver listed, and so she has every right to be with me. And even if she wasn't, she had every right to be with me. But the fact is that there have been 2 of 5 opportunities which she has accompanied me. Okay, but I'm still not getting to what I'm talking about. I'm setting this up though. But realistically, you're not going to start first and 10 at their 35 or first and 10 at their 40. What's going to happen is that you're going to fumble the ball. You may fumble the ball. You may fumble the snap. You may fumble the handoff. You may catch the ball on a quick out, on a quick swing pass, and fumble it, and you get tackled behind the line of scrimmage. What's more realistic is that you're going to start off first and 10 from your 3. Okay. There's going to be that coffin corner punt that pins you deep in your territory, and you're going to have to figure out how to get out, how to work your way from here. Your first play may not be a gadget play. Your first play may be a fullback dive. Your first play may be a run from the I formation to the tailback off tackle, or in between the tackles for that matter. It's not going to be something that's going to be an easy, quick. It won't be something that's going to result in a quick, and a pick six or a quick six for the other team. I hope that you can get the analogy here. This is my experience and how I have started out, or how I've built up to where I'm at this juncture, having owned this sprinter/cargo van a little more than 5 months. First of all, I had been making consistently at least $6,000 a month working out of my F-150, doing Grubhub, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Instacart, shipping, the food delivery apps, and then a couple of catering apps. Delivered that and delivered. My decision for getting the sprinter/cargo van was based on, and I explained it in this particular segment of the Gig Geezer, I saw where my money had plateaued, and I also saw where there would be a lot of pressure on trying to make it work because of the hypersaturation of the market, and also consumer habits changing. People aren't relying on the apps. It's not a necessity as it once was in 2020 and 2021. A lot of people who started in the gig economy started 2020, 2021. And they got spoiled by that easy money that was made. And now that they're having to work for the money, it's been hard for a lot of folk. A lot of folk have gone back to their W-2s. I've been a 1099 for the better part of 20 plus years. Yes, I've worked some W-2 situations, but I've always maintained a 1099 status on my tax returns. But I came in making that type of money, and so all I did was transition quickly by putting my van into service when I made that transaction on December 16, 2022. The next day, I used that van to go up to Charlotte, North Carolina, because I had a couple of catering opportunities. And then when I came back into Columbia, I finished up the day doing DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats and all. I made over $400 that day. Okay? And from that point on, I have used the van over 95% of the time since then. But I also shared that I did not do my first load opportunity in which I booked the load officially. It took me a little over 3 months. In fact, it was like 3.5 months. It wasn't until the end of March before I booked my first 2 loads. One was from Charlotte to San Antonio, and then the other was from Spartanburg, South Carolina to Burlington, North Carolina area. Those 2 opportunities made me roughly $1,700. It was like $1,650 if I'm not mistaken. I think it was more like $1,650. Maybe 17. But 3.5 months passed. But in that time, I was making money. Maybe not what I wanted to make, but I was making money doing the gig food delivery stuff. But within mind to transition to where that dependence on the gig food deliveries apps would be flipped to where I'm doing more last mile delivery opportunities. And that's where I'm at. So, that's it. I have shown in various segments of the Gig Geezer. I started out in the very first 30 days of ownership of this van making like $5,450. In the first 60 days of ownership, it was the next round was $6,100. It was actually like $6,090. So we rounded up to $6,100. In the 90 days of ownership, I was up around $7,100. Okay, about $19,000 made. But if I were to go month to month, from the first of the month to the end of the month, starting January 1st, the numbers have been more like 7,100, 7,000, 9,000, or close to 9,100, then 6,500, and this month I'm on pace to be somewhere safely between 7,500 and 8,000, but I think it's going to be more like 8,000, a little over 8,000 this month. Altogether, I've made over 35,000 so far this year as of May 22nd, 2023. That is no victory lap. Is it where I want to be? Quite honestly, no. It's more like about, depending on which number I use, I am arguably anywhere between 70 and 85% of the way where I would like to be. So that tells you that I'm still trying to make things happen. I've gotten off of the 3-yard line. I've gotten into the other side. I've gotten into their territory, but it's not been based on a lot of flashy plays. I've been running in between the tackles. I've been doing off tackle. I've been doing fullback dives. I've been doing play action, short passes, nothing long yet. So, if I were to tell you how to get started, all that is to say, if I were to tell you how to get started when once you make your transaction for your Sprinter/cargo van, there are other people that are probably telling you the same thing. One of the best things that you can do is get on as many apps as you can. Get on as many apps as you can. Whatever apps that are available in your market, get on those apps. Be it gig food delivery or last mile opportunities. What are the last mile opportunity apps? You know, Roadie, Curry, Frayt, Dispatch, whichever one's in your market. Bungee, GoShare, Dolly. A lot of these apps. There are apps that are not in my market. There are apps that are not available in my market, and there are apps that are available in my market. Of course, if you're enterprising, you may know somebody in the markets in which those apps are available, and you may use their address. I mean, I did that for Frayt. When I got on with Frayt, I used a good friend's address for the Charleston area because I tried 3 other times to get on the app, and they booted my application each time because I was not in their area. So, I mean, people do that. Get on as many apps as possible. Treat this as a business. Treat this as a business. If you want business-like results, you got to treat it like a business, okay? Be realistic about going over the road. Do you want to go over the road? Do you want to are you in a position where personally or relationally or whatever the situation may be that is unique to you, are you willing to be on the road 2 and 3 weeks at a time just to say you're making $2,000-3,000 a week, if that's what you make? And then you got to hope that they pay you when they do pay you. Or do you want to be at home every night and you still have to grind, you still have to put in your grind, but it's realistic that you can make basically the same money? And that's what I was getting at earlier in this segment of the Gig Geezer. And by the way, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer and any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I shared the numbers. That tells you that I'm making over $7,000 a month, comfortably into the $7,000 a month range. That means that I am making more operating out of my Sprinter/cargo van. And quite honestly, if I were to give you a number and compared to this time last year, I'm making at least 10% more than I did this time last year. I've already shared in another segment of the Gig Geezer how I have flipped my dependence on the gig food delivery apps. Whereas at one time it was as much as 90% in any given month, it's more like now on the gig food delivery apps, 15, maybe 20%, less than 20%. That's by strategy. That's by choice for me. For you, it may be a different story. Another thing, don't feel awkward or strange that you are using your Sprinter/cargo van to drop off somebody's salad or hamburger or dinner or lunch or breakfast. Don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed, man, because you're doing what you got to do, okay? But also look for other opportunities. Now, another thing that you hear people say is that, getting a contract. Getting a contract. Yeah, I want to get a contract. I want to get a contract. I'm trying to get contracts. I got no problem with contracts. I've shared my piece previously about contracts. But there are things that I understand about contracts. I shared previously that, in fact, on this segment of the Gig Geezer, I shared previously that what you have to take into consideration is that if you're not able to cover that route, or the people that you have driving for you are not able to cover that route, somebody's got to do it. And if you're unable to meet that expectation based on the contract, you may lose that contract in its entirety. But yet another factor that you got to deal with contracts is that the people that you have a contract with, they're looking for you to perform the work, but you got to deal with them whether they're going to pay you when they say they're supposed to pay you. That's another thing. And how long can you stand going without getting paid? Some contracts maybe you're paid weekly. Some contracts maybe you're paid monthly. Okay? Can you withstand that? I mentioned about when you go on the road, you get paid when they pay you. Some places say weekly. Some places say 30 days after it's been reconciled and all. These are things that you got to take into consideration. Now, to sum things up, what can you do to get started? Yes, you got to do your homework. B, ultimately you got to make the transaction for a van. Now, some people ask, well, how about, is it to my advantage to rent? Is it my advantage to lease? Admittedly, I was in a better financial position to where I could go to Bank of America and complete a transaction in which I did this under a business name. But even then, starting out, because it's my first business transaction, this is was also based off of my personal credit. And anybody knows about Bank of America, you got to have your shit straight. I've said this before. It's not a bragging or tooting the horn or anything like that, but that is a fact. And depending on what other financial institutions, you got to have your shit together when you do start out with a business. Now, I also shared another segment, the Gig Geezer. You also got to create business name. You got to set it up under LLC or corporation. You've got to set up business checking accounts and all. You need to have your credit straight. You can do things with bad credit, but having decent credit to good credit or great credit goes a long way, buddy. I mentioned just a few moments ago about leasing or renting. I'll put it to you like this. Back in 2021, summer 2021, the queen of my life, the transmission went out on her SUV. And my Pathfinder was not too far behind. There was some type of shit going on with the continuous valve timing mechanisms. Well, that went out basically. My SUV, my Pathfinder was in the shop for like 3 weeks. And the Queen and I had to still do what we had to do. She had to go to work, I had to make money. I rented a car for 1 week. It cost me $703. Part of it was also getting insurance on it to where if it got totaled, I could flip them the keys and walk away. But $703 a week to rent a Toyota RAV4, I mean, man, that's more than a car note payment. That's more than my van payment. It's almost as much as my F-150 payment now, and definitely more than the payment on my Taurus and my daughter's vehicle that I paid for. So you have to take that into consideration. I mean, it costs to rent or lease. Now, you can try to make enough money to buy one outright, and that's a good way of doing it because you're in an equity situation, and you're in a situation to where you can drive that motherfucker into the ground, but it's all money earned. It's all money made. You're in an equity situation. That's another conversation. But hopefully I'm sharing enough information with you in this segment of the Gig Geezer to at least get your mind to thinking what you need to do. And with that, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer or in any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm Inwood Lane, and as always, may your grind and may your hustle continue.